one of the good things that I guess for I say good. This comes out wrong. Good for my son is it's just taking a left hook. So he's about 30 miles away from the actual storm itself. Matt, what are your thoughts? This storm is going to be catastrophic. It's going to be one for the record books.
I think of the games that are canceled, the big loser here is it's got to be UCF. North Carolina was by far the toughest game on their schedule, with the exception of maybe Navy. That is a game that I think they really had to have to justify their placement as a potential Big 8 buster as a non-automatic qualifier. So the fact that that game is now gone, done, and over with, I think really hurts their chances of being a non-automatic qualifier and getting into one of these January bowl games if they do have, 11-1, 10-1, whatever you want to call it.
Adam, what are your thoughts? Hurricane Florence, game cancellations, moves, postpones, how that may affect or may not affect any teams in the top 25 teams we've talked about, or certainly any personal things you'd like to say about that?
Yeah, I think for one, anybody that is still down there, if you are being advised to evacuate and take shelter, please do so. Having personally been through a hurricane, we lived in South Florida when Hurricane Andrew hit, and it was devastating. So hurricanes aren't something to play around with. So definitely find shelter if you have that opportunity. But in terms of the games, I'm glad that they're moving them. I think it's a struggle that some of them are being canceled. That's really unfortunate, as I explained with the UCF North Carolina game. But I do remember the North Carolina Notre Dame game in Deshaun Kaiser's junior season, or second season, where he threw, I think it was something like, and I'm not totally clear on this, something like 5 interceptions on like 17 throws because he just couldn't do anything with the ball. So what's going to be interesting to see is are there other games that are massively affected? Maybe an outlier where they're still getting a lot of rain, where somebody loses, but really is strictly because of weather. I remember I was sitting at my parents' house who live in Mishawaka watching that game thinking, just run the ball, Kelly. But those situations where there are going to be games that are affected even by moving the time up. Now, it doesn't look like there's a lot in the top 25, but that could have large ramifications for those middle-tier bowl teams as they're looking to make a bowl or, improve on their bowl selection. So I guess it will have an impact. How much so is yet to be determined.
All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes left on the clock. We got our panel, Matthew-Embury and Adam Jivden. Now, Rick's got the night off. We're talking about college football breaking rank. We do this every Wednesday night, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you're following us on at Breaking Rank 1 and at T-Balance. Real quickly, in no particular order, we'll just kind of alternate with you guys. We'll start with you, Matt, and we'll go to you, Adam, and so forth. Number 5, Oklahoma State at Iowa State. Not to be confused with the Iowa Hawkeyes, but Iowa State, noon on ABC. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Iowa State really disappointed in Iowa City against Iowa. Oklahoma is a much more potent team right now. Oklahoma wins big.
Adam, Kent State at number 11, Penn State at noon on Fox Sports. I don't really think that there's going to be much to talk about here, but Penn State taking on Kent State.
I think Penn State pulls away late, but as we alerted to earlier in the show, I could see Kent State keep staying with Penn State for a good half, 3 quarters before they just maybe get worn out. Penn State wins by 10 to 14.
Matthew, Miami, number 21, Miami at Toledo. Again, I don't think there's a lot to talk about here, but certainly at Toledo in that Adam's second favorite city. I don't know. Just kidding with you, bro. Go right ahead, Matt.
The fact that it's going to be warm, I think, hurts Miami. I think they were hoping to get a cold weather climate game in, looking ahead down the road to, the ACC championship and the bowl game. I don't think it's going to matter here, though. I think the turnover chain is going to make multiple appearances, and the Hurricanes should have no problems beating the Rockets. Okay,
Adam, you're up. East Carolina at number 13, Virginia It's at 12:20 on the ACC network.
Oh, goodness, sorry. I was looking at my list, and I didn't think that's where you'd go. I think, Virginia Tech looks honestly extremely impressive. Justin Fuentes putting together a heck of a program, rebuilding from where, they had been previously and kind of restoring them to that glory that they had, in the 90s. I think they win in a landslide.
Matthew, UC Davis at number 9, Stanford, Pac-12, 2 o'clock.
Stanford should have no problems. I expect a huge numbers, at least when he's in there, from Bryce Love. And the same goes for KJ Costello, who I think right now, if you look at underrated quarterbacks in college football right now, I think the one name that comes to mind is KJ Costello with Stanford.
All right, you guys both get a double Oreo with this one. We'll start with you, Matt. Vanderbilt at Notre Dame. We've talked about this and quite extensively today, but final thoughts on Vanderbilt at Notre Dame. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, at Notre Dame. I apologize. Yeah, at Notre Dame. Go ahead. For some reason, I thought they were down in Vanderbilt.
Notre Dame should do just enough to win this game, but it could be another scary one if you're a Notre Dame fan.
Double Oreo for you, Adam. Vanderbilt at Notre Dame.
Well, if you remember back to week 1, I actually dead on predicted the score of the Notre Dame-Michigan game. However, I'm thinking Notre Dame's going to win. Could it be close? Yes, but I personally think that Notre Dame last week's game against Ball State was just one of those emotional letdowns after the big Michigan win. I think Notre Dame comes out, puts up maybe 31-34, wins 31. Let's just say 31-14.
Matt, Georgia Southern. Go ahead, 31-17. Matt, Georgia Southern at number 2, Clemson. That's a 3:30 game on ESPN2.
Georgia Southern is just not the same team ever since they made the jump from FCS to FBS. I don't know if the competition's got to them or whatever the case is, but this is not the team that they were when the other Adrian Peterson was playing for them, the one before the one that went to Oklahoma. Nothing goes right here. Clemson wins.
All right, Adam, Big Ten action. BYU at number 6, Wisconsin Badgers. 3:30 ABC. I don't think there's a lot to talk about here, but BYU can act as a spoiler. They've done it in the past. I would not rule them out, but they are at Wisconsin, so I certainly think very strongly that the Badgers take this one. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the jump around in the fourth quarter is going to be one where the game is already put away. Jonathan Taylor's maybe the best running back that they've had up there with in a long time, up there with Melvin Gordon. I think he could. I don't know if he wins the Heisman this year. I think he will definitely be in contention next year. But I think Wisconsin wins in a rout.
Matt, this is going to be a big game. This is one of the biggest games of the weekend, and that is number 12 LSU at number 7 Auburn. A lot on the line with this particular game. 3:30 on CBS.
I think right now, if LSU wants to get a signature win for Ed Orgeron, it happens here, but I just don't think they have enough firepower to hold off War Eagle in this one. I think Auburn finds a way to get the victory.
Adam, number 14, West Virginia at North Carolina State, 3:30 ESPNU.
West Virginia, easily, Will Grier puts up a pretty tremendous stat line to continue his push for the Heisman Trophy.
Matt, another good one for you. Number 17, Boise State against number 24, Oklahoma State. A lot on the line as far as rankings go with this particular game, 3:30 on ESPN.
If Oklahoma State had some sort of a defense, I would say this is Oklahoma State in a rout. But the thing is, though, I think you got a lot of firepower from Brett Rippon. Boise State's defense showed a lot of improvement since last year. And I think even though this game is at Boone Pickens Stadium, I think Boise State is going to find a way to snag one for Mike Gandy and the Cowboys.
All right, this is a hit piece for Adam Jivden. We'll see if he's got the Canonas to pick this particular game. Number 19, Michigan against SMU, 3:30 on the Big Ten Network.
What I want to happen, I'd love to see SMU beat Michigan. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to. SMU is they're a third tier program at this point. I think Michigan wins by 30.
Do you need a moment to vomit real quick before we continue?
Here's the thing. I'm fine if they can win every game the rest of the way, and then Jim Harbaugh will get his giant pompous self in front of the national audience. Michigan will work themselves back up, and then we'll beat them again by 25 points in Columbus. So it's fine.
Well, I don't get my soapbox for those times. Jim Harbaugh is the most overpaid, the most overhyped college football coach out there. So I lost my place here. Matt, San Jose State at number 20, Oregon. Pac-12 Network, 5 p.m.
Should be an easy win for Oregon. I think, though, there's still some questions. I think you need to see more of a running attack from Oregon if they're going to be a potent threat in the Pac-12. And add to that also some question marks as far as Justin Hebert at quarterback. But they'll find a way to beat San Jose State, no problem. But beyond that, the rest of the season, I still think there is a lot to prove if Oregon wants to be a serious contender for the Pac-12 championship game.
Adam, here's a softball for you. It's considered it the Pepto-Bismol from the last question. Number 1, Alabama against Ole Miss, 7 p.m. ESPN.
I actually think Ole Miss is going to make this more of a game than people are going to give them credit for. A.J. Brown is the next, big-time SEC receiver in the similar veins of the A.J. Greens and Julio Jones. He's a beast. He is a true stud. And I think last week he got something like 224 yards. He's a really, he is he's not being missed by NFL pundits. A lot of people say he's the number 1 receiver coming into the upcoming draft this next year. If he can get a couple scores, I think they could keep it close and a little dicey for Alabama in the fourth quarter. I still think Alabama wins, but I think it'll be closer than people expect.
All right, Matt, Middle Tennessee at number 3, Georgia Bulldogs.
The Blue Raiders have made some progress here and there, but again, you've got a super quarterback in Jake Fromm and then DeAndre Swift. That's just too much for me. I think Georgia wins, and this game is all but done with by the end of the first half.
Adam, Louisiana at number 16, Mississippi State, 7:30 SEC Network.
Mississippi State wins, I'd say, pretty handily.
All right, guys, double Oreo time. Start with you, Adam. Number 4, Ohio State versus number 15, TCU. We've talked about this game. We broke it down this game. But now it comes time to put your chips on the table. Adam, Ohio State versus TCU.
49-24, the Ohio State University.
The Ohio State University. And Matthew, double Oreo for you. Ohio State versus TCU.
I think Gary Patterson's going to look back and say we should have challenged ourselves before this game. It's going to show big time. Ohio State wins this game by a colossal margin.
Number 22, USC at Texas, 8 p.m. on Fox.
I think we saw some growing pains from JT. What is his last name? I know the young quarterback for USC against Stanford.
It's JT Daniels.
Yeah, JT Daniels against Stanford threw a couple really poor passes, got a little bit beaten up by the Stanford defense. Texas right now is just in a big mess right now, and I don't think it's necessarily everything that Tom Herbert's done or Tom Herman, the head coach, has done. It's just the program is bare of talented players right now, and I think it's going to show big time when they make their trip down to Austin and USC finds a way to win this game and win the game, I think, comfortably.
The late night game, number 10, Adam, we're with you. The number 10 Washington Huskies at Utah. It's not going to really matter. Most people are either going to be drunk or asleep. It doesn't really matter because Washington's still going to get snubbed by the college football playoff